You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening in business and life? Welcome to the Best of the Week episode, where you'll hear the best advice and sound bombs from this week's guests. Enjoy, listen carefully, but more importantly, implement.
So the thing I champion in my work for MBS.works and for Box Your Crowns is the power of curiosity. And what I would say to people is, you're probably not staying curious enough long enough. And there are three reasons why your advice giving is not as effective as you think it is. The first is this: you're often trying to solve the wrong problem because you get seduced into thinking that the first challenge that shows up is the real challenge, and it almost never is. So I'd say, look, asking the question, what's the real challenge here for you, is a really powerful leadership move to say, let's have the discipline to figure out what the real issue is. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, think of changing what success looks like for you, not as the person who comes up with the answer, but the person who figures out what the problem is that we're looking to solve. The second thing is to realize, look, your advice actually isn't as good as you think it is. When you're the founder, you're like, no, I know everything because I'm Mike, or I'm Michael, I'm the founder. And actually, we all have cognitive biases that lead us to overrate our own opinion. And if you're trying to scale, you need to find ways of getting smarter people around you and getting their advice on the table, because we is always smarter than me. And the third piece is, even if you happen to know what the real problem is, and even if you happen to have a brilliant suggestion, you leaping in and being the guy or the gal who's providing the answer is not the appropriate act of leadership often enough, because in that act, you're making yourself critical and you're making others disempowered. So all of which to say is, like, it feels so good when you're the person they come to for the answers. And that's not scalable, and it's diminishing for yourself, for the business, and for the people that you lead. So stay curious longer.
Learn from your failures, be okay with them, and be able to talk about them with people around you. I think like too many people are like so scared to talk about failure, and I personally am like quite big on like being transparent with that, so that you know, otherwise it just eats you up on the inside, right? Like, you know, so I feel like being okay with the fact that you fail, and the way you can do that is to say, okay, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to learn from it. And then with the successes, for sure, like take a moment to celebrate them. And I know that for everyone out there, me, myself included, like you're always like, okay, well, you know, let's say you get on a list that's for 30 under 30, right? And then suddenly it's like, well, I'm not on the 40 under 40 list, or I want to be there, and I want to be here, and I want to, you know, like you hit this much in revenue, but next year I want to do this. Like it can be so easy to just keep going and going. And I'm definitely a fault of that too. And and I think the way to do it is honestly to sometimes like have like where do you think you were going to be? Write it down and then say like, you know, when you hit it, celebrate it. I have this like fun story with one of my girlfriends that I was like, when we raised our first $1 million, we're going to go to Vegas. And I remember we raised our first $1 million and I was like, you kidding? I need to work. And like, we've never gone to Vegas together. Right. And so it's like, you know, I think like there is something about saying, I'm going to celebrate when this happens, and making sure that you do celebrate it.
I believe a lot in timing is everything. So if something doesn't work out, and again, this comes from now being 46 years old and having a lot of things go right, but a lot of things go wrong. And oftentimes you think that you really want this thing, but you're not ready until you get it at a certain point. You just weren't ready, and that's okay. Keep getting ready. Keep doing the work. Keep putting the hours in. Whatever you're inspired to do it until you can do it no further, and then think of something else to do. You know, yeah. Keep working towards that, and eventually the feedback will start to come in. What's going to be the thing that takes you to that millionaire level? Because
awesome. Yeah.
it feels like you're like, I don't know, I'm just grinding it out. I'm grinding. And I feel like that's honestly what your 30s is. Your 30s is a lot of grinding, unless you happen to be one of those wonderkind entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then all of a sudden something kind of cracks open
right
after you've been doing it for a little while. So just trust me on the timing and keep doing the work.
I'm not a fan of the just do it, kind of like Gary V type approach, where it's like, just leap, just do it, grind hard, work hard, like, wake up before everybody, go to bed after everybody. I've been that guy, and I have a human body. It's completely unsustainable. You're far, far, far more effective and more productive if you regularly practice self-care as a founder, or as an entrepreneur or an executive. If you're in a startup environment, if you're doing anything, if you're in finance or anything like that, where you're high pace, high stakes, high stress, you cannot redline yourself for months and months and months and expect it to not take its toll. You will burn out. And that is a real thing. I've been there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me, self-care is non-negotiable. Every day I will start my workday only after I have been to the gym, and I've packed my meals. I'm in bed almost every night before 10. I'm up at 5:30. And like, that's just kind of how I live my life. Like, the sacrifice that I make to be an entrepreneur is making sure that my health comes first. I also, I have a cutoff time at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Even if I don't have plans and I don't have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
It's just like, literally, that's when I don't think about business, and I allow my mind to go be creative, think about other things. Like, 'cause I'm super analytical. So letting my brain work in different ways. And I've found that I'm a much, much better executive, when I take care of myself. And the other thing is just like, for the better part of a decade, I was the side hustle king. Like, I had several projects going at all times. That's why I have 7 exits. It probably was the single biggest factor that prevented me from seeing extremely high level success, because I was spreading myself across several things, and I was not taking time out of my day, which now I spend at least an hour or 2 on learning to become a better CEO, reading books, thinking, developing those thoughts, sharing them, having conversations with people who think differently than I do, and allowing myself to go deeper. If you want to go a mile wide and an inch deep, and you're fine with being mediocre at a number of things, that's cool. And having just like a number of really mediocre businesses that suck up your time, great, like, do that. But if you want to like have any shot at being profoundly successful, you have got to get rid of the idea that opportunity cost is so great that you can't just allow yourself to commit and surrender to this one thing that you've chosen.
If someone's starting out, and they're trying to start their business. So because there's 2 pieces of things here. If someone's listening and they're like trying to start, or they're just in the beginning stages, it's like, do not spend months and months writing a business plan or any of this stuff, right? You have some idea or some problem that you think you have a solution for. You need to validate that and talk to as many potential customers that you think would buy this or pay for it or join whatever it is that you're doing as humanly possible, and validate that idea as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do 2 things, right? You're going to either be right on track and your hypothesis is going to be correct, and you're going to be like, I've talked to 100 people and they all have the problem that I thought they did. Great. Now you can build that thing. If you talk to 100 people and like 10 of them have that, but 90% of them are like, they have a different problem. Now you've learned that your hypothesis was probably wrong, but you also learned their other problems. So then you can pivot. The biggest companies in the world change their business model all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And startups pivot throughout the course of their product line, even raising millions and millions of dollars. So for people to spend months and months writing a business plan and talking to a lawyer and getting a business loan and blah, 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 they and filing patents and trademarks for stuff that is valueless. Like there's no, like, I know people who, you know, they file trademarks when they first set up the company. I'm like, why your logo is worthless, right?
No one's trying to steal your shit, man.
No one's trying to steal your shit.
Yeah.
And your logo is probably going to change in 2 years once you actually become successful anyway.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So like, take out all that, you know, BS stuff at the beginning and just talk to people and just like test and build stuff. Right. There's a lot of tools now where you can build apps, websites, all this stuff. Very easy, very, very cheap, or you could pay a freelancer or someone else to do it for you on the low, just to test your idea and your hypothesis.
Right.
For people who are later stage, you already have a company and you're trying to go to the next level, bring on investors, build your team, all this stuff, find, you know, product market fit, go to market strategy, you know, on, you know, marketing, advertising, all this stuff. From, you know, having a bunch of VCs and angel investors and people speak at our events and we're constantly interacting with them. And, you know, we've raised around to funding now too and stuff. It's day in and day out. It's like the same stuff. It's like build relationships, build a story around where you're currently at, what the current problems are, but then where are you going and how can you take this to that level? Investors at the big scale, if you're trying to build a massive company, they place bets simply on companies they think that can be $100 million in revenue.
Yeah.
That's like, they do not place bets on whatever else. Now, at the same time, that might not be you. Not everyone wants to build $1 billion company, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think a lot of people, especially in the Valley, spend way more time on trying to raise money than trying to make money. And I think that's a misconception with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space, is they almost put raising money on a pedestal over the amount of money that they actually make. And I think if entrepreneurs would focus on trying to figure out anyway, even if you're building a nonprofit, figure out a way to create some type of business model that you can put $5 into and get 10 back.
Yep.
That's the game. How can you just start making even just some revenue, some sales, doing whatever, selling t-shirts, doing whatever, right? And it's the same thing with our events. Like at the beginning, I wasn't planning to do events. And then I realized, we can actually kill two birds with one stone. We can build our network, make money at the same time, and build out our partnerships and like build out our brand in all these cities and physically interact with people and make money at the same time and show revenue and show growth as we're building out the app. So there's so many different strategies, but I think like the biggest thing is just showing, like getting traction, right? Like figuring out if you can get people to do stuff, that's the game. Even if it's for free, if you can get people to do stuff for free, like look at Google, Facebook, Instagram, they're all free. All the biggest companies in the world, their product is free basically.
Yep.
And they make the money through the advertising and the attention.
Absolutely.
Of the audience.
I think a big part, and this is coming from experience, and I wish I would have started my business like this, but really focusing on your personal development and self-mastery. I think it's so important to focus on your mind, your body, your soul, and to develop the self-awareness, the emotional intelligence to be able to handle a fast-paced, high environment, stressful job. Like that's the most important thing is take care of yourself. Focus as much on yourself as you're focusing on your business. It's super important. If you're able to focus on yourself and really cultivate, the behaviors and the habits and the routines that you need to be successful, when you show up, you're going to show up that much more pure.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Leibus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.